Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Today we're going to be continuing to explore the Rabarya Desert, the ruins of the desert, and talk a little bit about Tal Afatra. So the El Rabarya Desert was not always a desert. It was once a fertile, lush land used as uh, mostly farmland, was quite verdant, stretching all the way to the eastern plains. And the eastern plains, even then, the lush farmland kind of petered out a bit in the eastern plains. Not nearly as bad as it is today, but it always kind of gradually calmed down as far as being verdant, lush land. That all changed with the hammer strike of the gods during an era called the War of the Heavens, which was a direct response to the coming of the three. The coming of the three, of course, being the three archdevils that came up to the prime plane of the known world and kind of just set up shop and ruled the known world for several hundred years. This time period was quite tumultuous. The three archdevils, their ultimate plan was to essentially make an expansion of the nine hells, a 10th layer, if you were, and that couldn't be tolerated. The usual standoff of the council of the 12 elder gods in the celestial palace, their normal mode of operation was a hands-off approach, because they discovered that the more interaction that they had with the mortals of the known world, kind of the worse things actually got. They didn't really fix anything. And so initially they had decided that they were going to take a hands-off approach and that the mortals would deal with this, except that the mortals didn't deal with it. In many cases, uh, mortals, being who and what they are, fell to the corruption of the archdevils and either joined their side or lived in misery. And so it was decided finally by the Council of 12 Elder Gods that they had to directly intervene, and this began with what is today called the hammer strike of the gods. Now, the most common assumption with the hammer strike of the gods was that this happened in the north, really rather the northwest. This that being the archangel that came down and slammed into uh, the known world, wielding the hammer of Janus, known as Donnerschlag, that caused massive upheaval. But that wasn't the only one. There were two other strikes as well. The one in this region is believed to have happened in the Sarputian Mountains, and it is widely believed that even despite the name that it was is called the hammer strike of the gods, it is believed that the weapon that the archangel used in the Sarputian Mountains was actually a spear, and that strike rearranged the landscape, uh, not just the climate, but it the in fact the Sarputian Mountains didn't exist. The spear struck home and caused massive upheaval, driving the mountains up, and the shock wave moved out and laid waste to the desert, or what was the what would become the desert. Those verdant uh, farms and fields were laid barren. And of course, this shockwave extended on the eastern plains, which were already, uh, sparse compared to what the farmlands were laid waste, as can be seen as they are now. Now they're a dry, scrubby plainlands that very few fields actually grow, and the Alsatia desert, or excuse me, the Alsatia jungle was shrank down. It once extended much further than it does now, well within the El Rabarya Desert, and today is relegated to a small portion just off the Russian Gulf. And so when this happened, there were cities and temples and um, you know various hallowed locations to the people of that time, and those were either laid waste, or if they survived the initial explosive shockwave that came out, they very gradually dwindled as the climate turned hot and dry in that region, and remains so to this day. These temples, or these well, what today is ruins, now dot the desert in many locations. There is a major site, the El Amatra ruins in the Malrud Oasis to the north, that is known to be it is a laid out the ruins of a city. There is a large temple complex that is located there, all completely abandoned. There is numerous sites in the desert itself. The Jeramal ruins was is believed to have been a necropolis, a hallowed site for burying the dead. There are sites all over, and the one thing to remember about these sites, almost all of them have uh, some kind of dungeon complex involved. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything of worth to be found there, because a lot of the ruins have been picked over the thousands of years since this happened. But um, in some cases, there is really nothing there to be found. In other cases, there may be riches to be found of a past empire that existed before recorded history. Recorded history more or less begins around negative 2000, that being the uh, date or the thought of date of the reckoning, where the planes all collided with one another and you had all sorts of destruction going on. But there were things going on before that. It's simply that record of history has been lost, and that nobody, either everybody died, or the locations where those records were kept are lost and are deep beneath the earth, down into the mythic underworld, uh, the caverns that exist beneath the known world. Many of these tombs, like I said, may have ancient artifacts of a lost age. Um, they may also contain many dangers. One tomb in particular, at the uh, Artelar ruins, is known to have nobody's actually come out of it, except for one person who was driven mad by what they found within. But they did come out laden with jewels and gold, and uh, there was at least one magic item. So we know that there are things there, and there are, of course, adventurers that are wanting to explore many of the ruins in the desert, but they are often curtailed because the Bedouin that roam the desert find that these ruin sites are considered sacred. They are uh, holy ground to be protected uh, with a religious fervor, and none is more uh, fervent in their protection of these sites than the uh, city of Tal Afatra. They are a caliphate that is ruling more or less the desert. They would be the desert is considered to be a part of the country of Arabasia, but it is at the very edges of Arabasia. The ruling heads of Tal Afatra are clerics. It is a theocracy, and the Bedouin usually make a yearly pilgrimage to Tal Afatra, um, for various religious rites and holy days. It is said that they stay at Tal Afatra for 40 days, and that there's um, enlightenment that goes on. It's not a grand party like you would see in Stagina. It is a much more serious, um, somber religious event. But a lot of the Bedouin tribes will, you know, curtail activities of delving into these ruins because it is believed that they are sacred uh, to them. In other cases, if this can be bent and interpreted by the Bedouin. Some Bedouin tribes, if there is something of religious importance that they believe may be in the ruins, or if there's a legend that something may be in the ruins, in some cases the Bedouin will assist adventurers with the idea that there is safety in numbers, or safety in more experienced people that are used to delving into these dungeons, and so it can be a double-edged sword. They may be assisting and guiding adventurers to these ruins and going into the ruins with them, but only so far as they are going to get something out of it, usually a religious relic, or possibly the body or corpse of a revered figure that the Bedouin themselves plan to bring out. And so, whether or not the adventurers that are in it just for the loot and the treasure make it out is really dependent on how secretive the Bedouin tribe wants this entire situation to be. They may not want anybody to know that the adventurers were with them when they found some great religious artifact that is rumored to be of great power. And so a lot of those adventurers end up being buried beneath the sands, just like the relics that they are trying to bring out. So that is the ruins of El Rabarya Desert. Next time, we're going to be talking about some of the oases and how they came into formation, and we will be moving further south into Erebachia proper and talking about the different lands there. We're also going to be touching on the Trapane city-states that sit out at the end of the rushing Gulf in the Astriad Sea. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you next time.